I welcome everyone who joined for this session, and I also like to welcome and thanks whoever joined Meetup group for the first time. It's almost close to 1800 members now, so thanks for your support. And myself, Om Prakash Pachoria. I'm working with Talentica since March 2013 as a full stack developer, and I have almost 11 years of experience. So we'll start with the session. So this session will be first we'll go with the information or what to say presentation, and at the end we'll planning to have the introduction or the question answer session so that we can manage the things easily. Other than that, this session will be almost uh, 1.5 hour session, which includes information over the micro front end, some demo. Other than that, demo we have given kind of implementation thoughts with the code base. So that might be that will be the approach for the day. So I think let's proceed. Yeah. Yeah. So for this session, what things we are going to cover is the what part of micro front end, who part, why part, when part, how, and demo. So these are the main areas which we are going to talk today. So, yeah. Before moving anything, I like to share few views. What is the needs of the hour? What it mean is what we actually looking for today's web environment, web technologies, web application. We always and this is mostly in terms of the developer and product owner views, not the end user views always. But as we are all developer here, so these views according to those. So it should be a modern web application, so which have the latest features. Maybe it's means accessing a location or anything else, maybe playing a video and all. But other than that, we are also focused that for application, multiple teams can work at a given point of time, and things will be smooth for those. They are able to ship the features independently. Uh, uh, so other than that, our front end needs to be looking good, which is our representation to the world. Uh, if, and other thing is like our application also needs to be scalable. So we want to cope of the whatever the incoming traffic is. We need to and address the needs of the our clients. So we should be able to make that as out. We also need the speed of development is good, so that productivity will be high, and which makes ultimately a return of an investment. Availability, this is the one of the important point. uh, so that so this focus on the that area where our application will not be broken, or the whenever the customer comes to our page, they always find it up and working. So availability, focus on that part. And loosely coupled, so that loosely coupled is self sufficient and testable code. So these are the self sufficient things, uh, understandable things. So we all need all these kind of features in our development and application. So what we need to identify some sort of techniques or the way to achieve this. So yes, we have a solution. This is a microservice things, which is nothing but a technique where we can divide a complete application in a smaller services and work over that, uh, which allow us to ship feature independently. One can also and scale. Scaling is good. Speed of development is good. Availability is again on the upper side. So previously, like what happens, like if one part of the application broke, the whole application will go down. But in microservice architecture, if say this particular part is down, no, it's okay. Means the rest these parts are working. So will face some issues, but we are not completely down. So microservice have their own advantage, and because of this, people are extensively using those. And micro frontend is nothing but extension of microservice architecture. So previously, this microservices only focus on. In fact, today as well, they are focused on the backend side. So micro frontend just uh, their counterpart part on the front end. So as I am coming to the what part of the micro front end, as for the definition, it's a just a distinct vertical slices, which is which have the front end part, back end part, and the database. So when we go in more in this discussions, this session, you will come to know more about this. So I'm moving from here. Yeah. So this gives you the confidence, like this is not a new thing which is in the market, and this more large number of people are already using. They are a market player, means they are the leaders in their areas. So yeah, it's a good time to pick micro front end. So as I mentioned, like these company have their different set of business, and their areas are different, but so they need to definitely go with the different approaches. So yes, Microsoft have focused on the development software side. However, the Starbucks have different side, but some other Spotify have the different area. So but everyone is using those, and they are gaining as well. So yeah, and the list is always growing, and it might be a chance you guys might have using this as well in your projects as. But today you may able to relate that, yeah, this is something I've already done. Yes, I'm in touch with I'm working on the cutting edge. So yeah. So what I did is I have identified the graph of the last 5 years on the Google Trends for the micro front end. So if you identify like the September 27, and it's initially doesn't have a lot of boom, then it's come with 2018, and the things are going up and up, up and up. Although you will find some little spikes, but those are the best. This trends is based on the search, web search on the Google. So people are working, means interested about micro front end. So yeah, it's a good time to pick up. So yeah, brief history of yeah. So what happens, like whenever a new idea comes in the market, they want to have their application so that people can come to them and able to connect with them. So and they might be like solving some problems for that as well. They go with some kind of web app or app. So what used to be there in the initial days is like monolithic architecture. What it means, it cover the everything. It cover the front end part, API part, means back end part, both everything. So but uh, then the new things come up in the market, that is separation of front end and back end. So yeah, after that this thing new things come up in the market. There's a microservice, and which we already have discussed. So other than that, nowadays we are focused on the component based things, library and framework, which is more usable. And the recent one is the micro front end, which we are not talking as of now. So let's go ahead. So as I mentioned on the previous slide, it's like monolithic one is the one have the single system with a front end and back end as a whole. And in this, if anything comes, any problem is there, then there's a single point of failure. But in the second part, it's front end and back end. If something broke on the front end, the partial page will be broken, but or the particular page will be broken, but the rest of the system will be working fine. So that's the other way. Now then the system comes the microservice, where we have the different set of services for the backend. So here like one service, two and n services, and we have the some gateway which will interact with the front end. Now the things as the application grow, we need to think about the more new ideas. So this micro front end comes in the picture. So this particular part, blue part, is remain the same, but the green part is broken into there will be one container which we name as app shell, and we have the different front ends or kind of services. Uh, there's one to n, which is you can just think like it's a kind of mirror image if we slice from here, the green and blue part. So, but obviously the things will be different. But we'll go on and see what's the thing. So yeah, so I'm coming to the why part of the micro front end. So we need, why we need a micro front end? We want our as we have discussed, we want our application to be modular and loosely coupled. So faster development, increase productivity. So whenever the things are loosely coupled and we one modular, in more we can assign the work independently to a small means different resources, instead of a whole team working on the same part. So other than that, individual development, which I've already told, is granular scaling. So scaling is the other part which one can focus, so that if might be chance if you owns a e-commerce website, and people are coming there for and browsing the page. So in that case, before you need to scale particularly like present product pages or listing pages instead of a payment page. So you can scale up that particular part. Fault isolation is like as we have discussed, the single point of failure things. It will reduce those part micro front end. So as I mentioned, like if something goes on wrong, it will be on a particular area or section and not the whole application. So yeah. So micro front end gives us a more flexibility in terms we can use any architecture or technology of our use choice, sorry, uh, instead of binded to the particular one. And it's evolutionary, it's given lots of advantages, and we will discuss those as well. And the reusability, as a developer we always love dry concept. So yeah, again and it's come to when part. So we some, it might be a chance like in your current application you may find some challenges. It might be a chance you do not find some challenges. So before saying anything, I like to say, if your current application is working fine and able to make out your needs, business needs, then it's a wastage of efforts to reinventing the wheel and focus on the redevelopment of in the way of microfinance, just for the sake of means implementation. So if it's better to invest that particular time in business side. So that's my first recommendation. although I am talking about the micro front end, but yeah, huge. Yeah. So as I was saying, that there might be a few challenges which we are facing in our challenge current app. So for that case, we need to identify. This give us a signal when we can go with micro front end architecture or any changes in the our application. So like as I the first thing is like a huge code base where different teams. Yeah. So it be a chance you have a team, and which definitely you will have a team. You might have a feature or a file which more than one developer access and make changes. So in that case, you will find lots of conflicts, and separation of concerns is another concern. Mm. So other than that, you will find like this code is again get mashy. So the reason is obvious. When more than one people work on the same thing, and everyone have their own set of thought process and doing the things. So in that case, things may get mashy. So that's another signal which help you to identify like it's a good time to move on. Uh, so there might be cases like due to a particular set of code, our application is delayed in deployment. So you think if that particular part was not there, our code was in the production. So you may get such kind of feeling. So whenever you feel something like this, and you can easily able to identify that as a separate part, or based on the particular feature or something, so you can easily able to decouple that. Other than that, whereas any tech means computer technologies, software technologies are emerging very fast. So if you are working any technology today, you will find it old tomorrow. So you like to explore a different front end technologies or the. So for those cases, micro front end is one of the good one. Yeah. So as I was mentioning, this helps a lot to the means a few of the customer in the market, or the better to say organization in the market. So first we'll go with the Walmart.com. So I understand like everyone knows the Walmart. So they have different set of customer in terms like if you are going to buy a fashion items or a clothes, better to say, or anything jewelry and something like this, you have a different mindset. But if you are going to buy uh, shampoo or something related to for your baby or something, or maybe a diaper, so then you have always purchase a fixed item. So there's a different set of customer mind frame which you need to address. Other than that, Walmart.com is specifically facing one problem. There's a large number of products returns are there. So because the reason might be like this product does not fit, or something, this doesn't work with my car or something. So what they initially started with a this is one screenshot from their product page. So this particular area, so I hope my cursor is visible to area everyone. Does it fit my vehicle? This particular area is a micro front end application where what happens there, like they have windshield uh, wipers for people used to purchase this, and they used to return it because they said like this is not uh, compatible with my particular car and all. So what they have introduced is like they have asked user to provide some kind of inputs. Based on that particular input, they give the binary information. Okay, whatever the product you have selected is will fit or not fit. So if it's not fit, it will raise another search query for the particular set of item. so that the customer will be happy and the Walmart will be happy in terms like there will be no returns or will be less returns in terms of, so that's help and their revenue. So that's a one story. Another story is Amtech Digital. That's one of the logistic industry web. And what happens? They got a customer where whatever they want to rewrite a application or they need to work on the application, better to say. So the existing application is complex in architecture and code. It's hard to scale and there's a limited choice of the technology. So other than that, it's difficult to update and test and maintainable as mentioned. So what their team comes up they will come up with a not only the micro front end architecture but the microservice architecture as well for the backend. So they have divided the things in a modular way, and the things the resultant will be this happy customer. And yeah, so what I did is for a reference purpose you can have this links whenever you going through these slides, so this will give you more details. So yes, micro front end is giving a benefit to the industry. So I have given you more information like yeah, micro front end this and that. But if you are going to choose micro front end, you need to consider a few things, which is important before making any big decision. So you need to consider your team size. So suppose if you have a team size of 3 people and you decide to break a application and which you have divided it into in terms of features, and you come up with the 8 feature and you ask to one developer to work on 2 features, and then also you are not able to make it out. So you can say like we can divide it into 3, but it's a overburden. So your size team size is not compatible with to adopt micro front end. So better it's all it's recommended to have a team size more than 10 to start with micro front end. Okay. So other than that, uh, when we divide a particular application into a different set of microservice or micro front end, they needs to communicate with each other for achieving different functionalities. So we also need to understand how they are going to communicate, what are the security flows, what will be the payload size and all. So we need to think that part as well. So that's another area which you need to consider before moving to make decision of micro. Yeah. So the third point, we have the more than one way to divide your web component. So suppose you have an application and you are going to divide a particular page in a micro front end. You decide for that. So it might be a chance you think it's a one way to decide and break it. The application is a header as a one application, footer as a another application, sidebar as a another application, the content bar is the another application. So we have divided a simple page on a 4 application. This could be the one way. Another way we could be like we need to decide based on the feature, say the product listing way page or the check payment page or the recommendation page or like the user profile page. So we can have the multiple ways to decide or divide our existing application to a micro front end side. So we need to consider this, how we are going to divide the function micro front end part. So means how we are going to assign the responsibility. Other than that, as I mentioned before as well, so we should not all thought like if we are capable of doing multiple things or we want to try with a new library or new framework, we should not always go with that. We should always understand is that particular needs uh, it is that really needed? If it's not needed, we should stop ourselves and focus on the business, and we should come up with the, instead of we can invest that time to innovate something. So that's my idea. So everything have some positive side and the negative side. So micro front end also have. So as I am mentioning that we need to decide how we are going to communicate. So mostly we communicate with the help of some payload. So we need to define how our payload, how like what will be the size. If one team is having their own payload, other team may have their own payload, how the things will end up. So this is the another issue which one is facing. Environmental difference, like it might be a chance for a particular application you may have a Ember, Vue, or React, or Angular, a set of four, right? And you may face like but particular thing is supporting any have the feature and another don't have. So we also need to tackle with the environmental difference. Other than that, microservice architecture have their own limitation, which is governance and operational limitation, which we understand pretty better. So I'm not going to extend this anymore. Yeah. So now comes like how to implement. So to implement anything, one can have pick their own custom ways and some market standards. So typically, in my opinion, we have the 6 ways to do this. One is like iframe way, routing and loading apps, other than the web component, mono apps and framework libraries, and customized or orchestration. Then I will start with the iframe. So this is one of the most used techniques uh, which we are using from since long time. The advantage will be like we can we need not to focus on the things like how this will impact the source, means host. Other than that, it can more than one frames can also reside on the same page. We need not to focus on the navigation and the communication part. If communication part is even needed, we can do it with the help of Windows component. So that's another Windows object, better to say. So other ways by routing and loading apps. So in this approach, our web will go with some web server or a area or a element which will able to route the route the load, or better to say needs route based on the particular path and all. So for example, this for app1 will load a micro app1. For app2 for the means for route app2 we are going to load a micro app2. So in this way we can have more than what. So in this way the advantage will be like we are good in the navigation and routing part compared to the iframe. And this will approach will also help when we divide our help app into multiple app based on the features. So you can consider this like this is a product one, this could be a profile, this could be a checkout one. So that's so web component. So this is a very good way to utilize reusability. If you have a component which owns some functionality, and based on that functionality you needs to put it wherever it's needed and it will work smoothly. So for example, it could be like some recommendation part. So recommendation part is all it, and in say for example you have e-com web. So in ecom web, this recommendation part can be just below the listing part. It can below the product page. It can just before the cart, so that if you want to add a few more, so it could be a few areas. So web component is the other way to achieve micro front end. Yeah. So mono. So that's a way where we have all of our related projects are under as a one repository. So that's mono, say micro app 1, 2, and 3. So in this case, we don't have to focus on the share code part. And so what the disadvantage will be like, the developer needs to check out the whole, means he need to check out the whole repository. Even he is interested in working on the micro app 1 only, or it might be a chance micro app 1 and 3, but he need to have the check out the whole. So that's one disadvantage in this. So other one is framework libraries. So we what we used to do, we develop some of the small private repository for particular applications. And what we used to do, we'll put some sort of shell app to pull those, and we'll use of the lazy or dynamic lazy loading or dynamic import. The communication is quite smooth here. So these are the fifth part, and now I'm going to the last part, customized orchestration. So in this, what things like, will define a kind of mapping. So whenever the things comes to particular means a particular request comes, then this particular system will decide it will goes to the application 1 or 2 or 3. So yeah, the advantage will be like the global objects, which may or may not be good. Sometimes we need to decide based on our application. Yeah. So from here, I will hand over to Deepika.
Hello everyone. So I'll just share my screen.
Yes, now I can. I think you can share your application, Deepika. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know once you're able to see my screen.
Yes, Deepika, I can.
Okay. So once again, hello. I'm Deepika Chauhan. So I'm working in Talentica since 2018, and I have in total of 4+ years of experience in front-end development. So let's get started with our micro front-end application. So I'm going to talk about build-time integration of micro front-ends. So one way is you can do as you can add it as a Git dependency. So here you can see this, I have taken a snippet of package.json. So here micro front end, this container will be our container app, and this dependencies are our micro front end apps. So I have added it as a Git dependency, and this Git repository will be exposing its component or entire application via bundle.js. In bundle.js, you can either expose, or you can say you can expose a function, or you can expose an entire application. So you are adding it as a dependency. The second way is adding it as a npm package. So this approach where each micro frontend app is published as a npm package and have the container app which includes them all as a library dependency. So you can see every micro frontend app represents an npm package. So the main app container builds itself into a final bundle with all the dependencies, which are or micro frontends. So this makes sense, right? But it is not recommended because it has one big drawback. Every time one of the micro frontend app changes, the whole container with all its dependencies should rebuild and create a new release. So this can cause delays, rollbacks, or bugs for every micro frontend, and that is what we like to avoid, right? So, and also every team should have dependencies on the same package versions, which can really make it harder to create a new release. So it's always better to integrate the micro front end at runtime than at build time. So I'm not going to give any demo over here, just a theoretical part. So I like to hand over to Sunny.
Uh, Thank you, Deepika. So, can you share my screen?
Deepika, you need to make him host.
Yeah, doing that.
Okay. I will share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So Deepika just talked about the build time integration. So exactly, build time integration has one flaw. Like whenever you have to like make whenever you made some change. Okay, before starting, let me introduce myself. I'm Sunny Kumar, and I have joined Talent Kind May 2020, and I have total 4+ year of experience entirely in front end and JavaScript. So today I will be covering the implementation and demo part of the runtime integration of the micro frontends. So as like Deepika was saying that build time integration has their one flaw, like whenever you made some changes to one of the micro frontend, then container app has to rebuild the entire application. So it's like that, it's not completely autonomous. So you have to build is always dependent. Your team, your code is autonomous, but the build cycle is not independent. It's dependent from the container. So for that covering that fallback, runtime integration of micro frontends comes in the pictures. So there are various methods to implement runtime integration. One is the iframe, another is the JavaScript functions, and another is the web components. So JavaScript functions and web components, they are mostly in the similar, but they are different in implementation, a little bit different. So I will come to those parts very soon. But first, let's talk about the iframes. So as OP has already talked about, like about the iframes. So one iframe is the when we talk about iframes, it's nothing in new concepts. People are using from the like people are using it from the very they are using from the years now. So it is a simplest approach to compose different micro frontends into the one app. And it also offers you the isolations. So as you can see that implementation part is very much easy. You have one micro frontend that is deployed at localhost 4200 port, and when you want to implement it in the container app, you just have to give the source URL here, and that's how you have composed your micro frontend to the container. So implementation is quite easy. As you can see, this part is the one micro frontend, and it is implemented in the container app. So another advantage it gives you is that it is isolated from the other part of the applications. Like it doesn't communicate with them, so it won't interfere with what the style property this iframe or this micro frontend has, what's the global variable it has, or like a storage. So it is completely isolated. So at some in some scenario, it gives you greater flexibility and greater benefits. Like in our like we are using micro frontend. So in our case also, the iframes was the only desired choice when we're coming to the situation. So the situation was, we wanted to implement our micro frontend to the customer, but the customer application based upon the financial transactions. So whenever we will implement our micro frontend based upon the our DOM injection, like JavaScript function or web components, it will share the storage global variables. So we may access customer cookies, storage, and other things. So it will create a security problems. So on that case, iframe is very good, like it is isolated and it doesn't have access to customer container app anything. So it is an advantage, like it offers you isolation from the other part of application. But when we talk about the isolation, it also has their challenges. This micro frontend can't communicate with the other part of applications, other part of micro frontend container. So communication will be very much different. So like either you want to communicate with the routing, history, or anything deep linking, so it will be on their own, and it can't contract, they won't have any contract with other part of the applications. So that is also like, this is the disadvantage, hard to communicate with the rest of the application, it is purely isolated. And another challenge iframe offers is the whenever we implement it in the container app, the responsiveness becomes a huge challenge. So like for iframe managing the page, iframe managing the page, you have to if you're building one application that needs to be responsiveness, then iframe offers a little bit of disadvantage there. So that is the another challenge that comes with the iframe. But yeah, the biggest advantage is it offers you isolation from the other part of application, and in some scenario, if it is implemented and it is structured well, it can offer you the greater benefits. So that depends upon your like project to project basis. So next one is JavaScript functions, and this is the pretty much standard the people are using. So here this is my container, container or cell app in the micro frontend, like OP has already talked about. In micro frontend, one is the container on or cell app, and the other 3 or 4 micro frontends or any number of micro frontends that can be built independently, they can be deployed independently, and then they can be integrated with the container. So this is one container app. Like here we have one header, and then the micro frontends will come into the part. So like we have one store that has a container app, and this is the header, and we have 3 micro frontends, one named as a product, one named as a user, another one as a feedback. So we want to all 3 micro frontends on our container or cell app. So like we have one elements where we want to inject our micro frontend. So another question is when we want to inject. So here the conditions can be based upon some event handler or anything, but here we are taking based upon the route inject particular micro frontend. So like this micro frontend, whenever like this injects, whenever this bundle is loaded into our page, it attaches events to Windows methods. So through that event, you can access or load the micro frontend. So I will come to implementation part, how it attaches a function to the Windows method and how we can use it. So like here, product page will attach a window.render method, and through that we can access that micro frontend. So also window.render user will inject a method that we can use for the user. So likewise, feedback has been feedback micro frontend does the same thing. So like if we are on the user page, our application will already determine that user is on the user page. On that case, it will invoke the window.render user function, and like here we can see render function. It has decided that user currently on the user page, and then we will pass our element ID micro frontend. So then micro frontend will inject everything, inject micro frontend into this element ID, their DOM. So like there is a biggest advantage in this case is communication with rest of the application is very much easy. like a container can talk to the micro frontend, and micro frontend can talk to the container and also the other micro frontends. So like there is some kind of contract here. As you can see that container is passing one ID micro frontend route, and micro frontend is rendering their application to this route, this element only. Same ways we can also pass here some events, some properties that micro frontend can use. So this is called as a contract. Like in the parameters, whatever value we are passing, this is contract between micro frontend and the container app. So that's why communication with the rest of the app is easy. So this was method with the JavaScript functions. Another is through the web components. So here the same micro frontend is there. So whenever the micro frontend here loads, instead of attaching one function to the window global objects, they own defined a custom elements like product micro frontend. They will define they will create a mf app product custom elements, and whenever through the route we got to know that user like user is on the feedback page, then it will create one web components, and then it will render this to the like root element. Like root is, what is the root? Here we have got that mf app root is the element. So here on this like on this element our web component will be rendered. So the implementation is pretty much same as the JavaScript function, but difference here is it will create a web component, and then micro frontend will inject that web components whatever we wherever we have decided to inject. So outcome is pretty much same, but the method is different, and also communication is communication is also very easy from the other micro frontends or from the container. So yeah, this was like JavaScript function or web components. They are the JavaScript function especially, they are the most popular approach to implement micro functions through the runtime. So I will go for the demo part. So like here there is one applications that I have developed here, header and navigation, that is on the container page, and below as you can see that product page, from the product page to the till the footer, that is in the micro frontend. So on click of product, product micro frontend will come. So there is basically three micro frontends. One is for the product, one is for the user, one is for the feedback, and there is one container app. So on click on a root page, it will render the product micro frontend. On user page, it will render user micro frontend. On click of feedback, it will render feedback micro frontend. So exactly. So now I will go for the code part, how it is implemented in the code. So so before container, I will go for the like micro frontend. So this is my code for the micro frontend, that is for the product part. So this like as you see in the browser. So okay, just a second please. So this is the micro frontend for the product page, and in the code if you can see, okay, in the code if you see the micro frontend of the product, so app.js is pretty much a standard. Like this is the our applications of the product micro frontend, and here this is the app page, and here in the route we have defined in that it will be on the root route, and in the there we are getting the product component that has been defined here, and in the product page it is giving the product details. So that is the HTML that was coming on the product page. So the app.js, product details, product.js, these are the pretty much a standard part. The only difference here is like that this is the product micro frontend. So we are giving like naming conventions. Whenever the script will load, like as I have already said, it will inject a method to the window global object. So whenever it will run whenever the JavaScript bundle file will run, it will inject a window dot render product window. It will inject a render product method to the window. Here, what it will do, it will take a container ID, like ID of the element where we have to inject the micro frontend and the history object. So based upon that, our entire application will be rendered to that element. So this is the one global object that micro frontend is injecting. So I will go to the container, how it is implementing in the container. So yeah. I hope you guys can see my screen. So on the package.json, this is pretty much a standard React application where I have added React app, React DOM, React router scripts. And on the index.js, this is also the pretty much same, nothing new. Okay. On, if you see the app.js, this is the container app. And on the container app, if you see, we have one app header, and app header is like, this is the header name, and this is the navigation that we have defined for the product, user, and feedback. So this is the common standard code. But on the app.js, as you can see here, based upon the route, we are rendering that particular micro frontend. So if the user on the feedback page, we will render feedback micro frontend. And how we are calling the feedback micro frontend at runtime, let's see. So suppose user has requested for the feedback micro frontend. So here we got the history object that we are passing to the micro frontend, so that every micro frontends remain in the sync when it comes for the history object. So like this is the feedback components. Here another component that is named as a micro frontend, that I will come very soon. Here we are passing the name of the component, like this is the feedback, and host, that is the from where we want to render the host. So like I will come before that, there's also an important topic. Like as we were saying that every front end has their own autonomous team, autonomous development. So as I was just showing you the product micro front ends. So that is completely one autonomous project. So when we create some micro front ends, and then we deploy it to the some location. So as you can see that here on the environment variable, if you see that we will define where which micro frontend is hosted. So like product micro frontend, we have I specified that it is hosted at this location. Feedback is hosted at this location. User is hosted at this location. So we have specified that the location of the each micro frontend build site. So on the environment variable, we already have those locations. So when you come to the app.js, from the environment variables, we are saying that product host, we are getting the product host location, feedback host location, user host location, the same host locations or URL that we are passing to the micro frontend as a property. So we got the host URL, like where this feedback micro frontend hosted, and we got the name in the micro frontend. So let's see now the micro frontend components. So this is one React components, and as you can see that it render one main tag. Here we have ID that is dynamic, like we were passing the name tag. So based upon the name, the ID name will be dynamic, like product container, feedback container. So this is the dynamic. And there is one another thing is there's a hook that is a component did mount. So whenever component initialize, here we will have the name of the component, host, like where the files is hosted, and this is a document. So another, we are calling a fetch API. So if every micro frontend, they will have asset manifest.json. So whenever we create a build for the micro frontend, it creates the asset manifest.json. It contains the script and assets paths. So I will just show you where it is hosted. So like for the product page, I have hosted it on the build folder, and in folder, if you see that there is a one asset manifest.json file, and it will contain the every part that is related to product micro frontend. So here it is it is specified that for the main.js bundle, the path is build slash then static slash js, and for the index.js css file. So this path will be always common, but this path may change because whenever due to the cache issue of the uh, JavaScript, like if we have created a new build, then Webpack will build a new JavaScript and different hash file for the JavaScript bundle. So this will be constant, but this path will keep changing because due to the caching issue of the JavaScript. So like okay, so this will be a path will be always constant. So we will hit this URL, and then we will get here the script of the bundle file. So as you can okay, so here as you can see that this is the script, like host, this is the host where the file is hosted, and then this is the main.js. So this is the bundle name of the JavaScript or the micro frontend that we want to render. So here like we have created one script element, document.create element script, and then this is one unique ID based upon the name, like a script ID is micro frontend script product feedback user. So that will be unique, that will be used for the caching. So this is the script ID, and then this is the source that we got from the manifest.json. And on load, whenever this script is loaded, we will call a method that is the render micro frontend. So what is the render micro frontend is will do, like whenever the script loads, like we have already seen that whenever the micro frontend build loads, it attaches a function or method to the window objects. So on the render micro frontend, we will call that method so that we can inject our micro frontend. So on the render micro frontend here, this is a window object and render, and the name is the name of the micro frontend. So this will be like render product. So that's how we are accessing the method, and here we are passing the property like product container, that is the ID of the element, and this is the history object. So whenever we call this method with those parameters, it will render our micro frontend there. So this is the method that is implementing the micro frontend at the runtime on the container. So yeah, another thing is that once the our bundle is loaded, we don't want to repeat it. So on the component did mount, if it first checks that this script ID is already present or not. If it is already present, it will directly call the render micro frontend, and render micro frontend will load our micro frontend without again like calling the build files again from the server. So this was like how the micro frontend implement on the run site on the runtime. Another thing is like whenever whenever we switch micro frontend, like suppose we have loaded one user micro frontend, but now we want to change to the feedback or product micro frontend product page. So on that case, we have to unmount, like we have to clear the data. So on that case also there is another function on the micro frontend, unmount, like unmount product unmount feedback method, and here we are giving the ID of the element that will unmount the component at node. So that's to clear the our previous loaded micro frontend. So that's how like it is implementing. And when again we come to the implementation part, like I will show you again. So this is here we have loaded the product, and on click of user, it will load the user bundles. On click of feedback, it will load the feedback bundle. but once it is loaded, it won't call anything else. So as you can see, so that's how it is implemented. Okay, so yeah, this was about the implementations for on the container. I will just to go a little bit more about the micro frontend part. As we have already talked, like this was the method, like render product, render user, render feedback. That is the making contract, like that is giving you the method to inject in the micro frontend. There's on another one, like we talked unmount, and after that the micro frontend name unmount product, unmount of feedback, and mount user. So here we are getting the ID of the element, and based upon that ID we are unmounting it at the component at the node. So on the index.js for the micro frontend, there is a two methods, one to render the micro frontend and one to clear the micro frontend, clear the data. So that was it. And another thing is like whenever we want to develop the micro frontend, it's like the we are composing every micro frontend to the container app. But whenever we are developing the micro frontend, we should also have something. We should also have something so that we can see how our micro frontend look like. So to run on independently. So like for that, what we can do, like micro frontend already have their own index.html. So on that index.html, uh, we will add a new, we will add a one script, and what script will do, on window.onload, we will again call on the index.js. We already have the one global method. So on window.onload, it will call window.render product, and we will pass the container ID for the micro frontend. Through this way, this micro frontend can they can run independently, so that we can develop it easily. And then whenever the application has been matured or developed, then we can integrate it to the other part of the application. So that was it, like the micro frontend parts. So there was 3 micro frontends: user, product, and feedback, and everything was implemented here in the container. So yeah, that was it. So there's some other thing that I want to discuss. So on the implementation part, I have covered like container. So on the container, based upon the route, on which route user is there, we have loaded a particular micro frontend through the window dot some functions, window dot some function. Yeah. On the micro frontends, we have developed some micro frontends, and ultimately that micro frontend attached to one window global method that can be called by the container. And the contract between them is pretty much standard. Whatever data we pass to the global method that is attached to the window, that will be part of the contract. So some things that we have to keep in mind, the contract it like what's the communication that's going from the container to the micro frontend, and one micro frontend to other micro frontend. So it is I always recommended that contract should be minimum, so that they remain autonomous to each other. So communication across app is seamless, but again we can also pass the event from the one micro frontend or one container to other, but it should be minimum so that it is independent from each other. Like if someone has changed something, you shouldn't be affected. So that's the what's the idea of the contact should be minimum at possible. Another thing is shared contact. OP has already talked about the payload size. Payload size comes a very huge problem, and sooner Deepika will talk about the another very good feature about the model differentiation. But like in this case, shared content is like that we have 3 micro frontends, and every one of they are using some dependency like React DOM or D3, whatever. So whenever we load some micro frontend, we have to load those dependency build also. So here, what I did was, as you can see, Okay. Like we were seeing that React DOM and React scripts, they were the dependency that were taking the 40% of the build size. So we created a like common scripts, and we have deployed it to the one host, and then we have excluded those from the micro frontends. So if there is some library that is shared across every micro frontend, then we can create a central host, and there we can deploy there all of the shared dependency, and that just load it on the container itself. Through that way, like here we have loaded React script on the container, then we won't load those scripts at the micro frontend. So it will save our 40% of the size. Like we don't have to load every those library or those dependency at the micro frontend level. So this is like the shared contents. If every micro frontend had something in common, then we can create a central host and a central shared content, and from there we can take those hosts. But again, it has their like management is pretty much like sometimes management become difficult, like who is going to manage, and how it what is the property when it becomes shareable, like two teams are using, three teams are not using, then what's the application, and something has been changed on the shared content, and it will affect the others too. So it is challenge, but also again, if it is carefully implemented, it will always reduce to the payload size, and thus the speed of the applications. So yeah, so shared content is another thing that we have to think when we implement it. Another is the autonomous development. So obviously through the micro frontend, like we were saying that users can autonomously develop their product page without worrying about what's going on other team. So autonomous development, and they will also have their own deployment pipelines and testing things. So these all thing can be autonomous. So that was from my side, everything. Now I will hand over to Deepika, and in the last, if you have any question, then we will cover those.
Sunny, you need to make her a host.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunny. So again, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you're able to see it.
Yes, Deepika, we can.
Okay, so Sunny just talked about the runtime integration. So the module federation is also runtime integration, and it is part of Webpack 5, but it is in beta release. So what it does is it is actually a JavaScript application as written here to dynamically load code from another application, and in the process it can also share dependencies. So let's say if an application consuming a, we'll talk in terms of module federation. So if an application is consuming a federated module, or you can say micro frontend application does not have a dependency needed by the exposed code. So what Webpack will do, Webpack will download the missing dependency from the host build origin, or you can say the exposed code. So here let's consumer app or a micro frontend app can always load the dependency, but will attempt to use the dependency from downloading. So more payload. So this means that less code duplication is there, dependency sharing, just like monolithic Webpack build. So we'll moving forward. Module federation includes, there's some options over here. So name, which will be used as entry file name if file name is not set. So this is the file name. If file name is not set, then this name will be used. So library is another option, will assign the output of the build into the variable. If you have given some variable name, then the build file, the name of the build and the object will be created that will be assigned to this one. File name is, this is the name of the specialized entry file, and exposes is another object, which is an object, and it is an option. So exposes the component for consumption by other apps. Then we have I have messed out to write one more, that is remotes. Remotes is which remotes is like your container app. So container is going to consume the exposed component of another micro front-end app. So we are going to go in deep by demo. So last one is shared. So this library will be imported if the consumer app doesn't have it. So let's go to demo. Can you guys see my VS Code?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so I have just opened both my host and consumer app in the same VS Code so that it will reduce my switching over different VS Codes. So I have this host app and this consumer app. So host app has this package.json, simple React dependency, and start script with the mode development and build script mode production. Webpack will go over later. So source, we have this index.js. This will be the initial entry for our application. So here index.js, we have lazy loader or bootstrap loader, whatever you want to call it for the application. So entry point is index.js, and that is going to lazily import the app, which gives some time, so that if there is some external dependency or something, so that it will take some time and it will import properly. Then we'll go to our bootstrap.js. This is simple our React.js, which is our React DOM, and then rendering it. And we are actually rendering the app into the root DOM node. So here our bootstrap app. Okay, the same way I have consumer app, package.json, simple, that is also React application, normal start script, build script, and then source index.js, lazily loading, bootstrap, same React, and app.js. So let's go to Webpack of host application. Okay, so here I have using two plugins. So one is HTML Webpack plugin, that is normal, which just want to tell where is our index.html template, and the second one is module federation plugin. So yes, this is part of Webpack and Webpack 5. So here are the options which I was talking about. So this name you have to be, this name is what consumer app is going to access it. So this name should be same as whatever you're going to use it in consumer app. This file name is, this remote entry is specialized entry entry file, which consumer app is going to use it. So then remotes is an option which I forgot to right over there. So remotes is if let's say this is your consumer app and it is you have exposed some component from different different applications, so you are going to write it over here so that you are going to actually use it in this particular application. So expose is you are going to expose it from here, and shared is for you can share the dependency for here. I have what I have done over here is package.json. I have shared all the dependencies in package.json, and right now I have only React and React DOM. Same way in consumer, this is there. I have given the name as consumer and file name is remote entry, and I have shared the dependency. So what we should do is, let's see if this two different applications are working or not. So, and one more thing, I'm running this host application. This is my consumer application. I'm running it on 8081 and host application on 8080. Okay, so let's start host application and let's start. Okay, this is my host application. I have given only header to it. Let's start the consumer application. Okay, these two are different React applications. They are not communicating to each other, or they're not consuming one another. So let's stop this. So what we want to do, we want to see if that works in production also. So for, okay, go from here. Here. So for production, for deploying it, I'm using a Vercel, which is easy integration with GitHub. So let's see the difference. Git add, git commit, updated, and git push. I have already cloned it from the GitHub, so this repository is there in the GitHub, so no need to make those changes. So git diff git add, commit, updates, git push. I don't know why this keeps on popping up. Okay, so let's go over here. This is our Vercel, you can see, and I want to deploy it, right? So if you want to deploy it, you have to import the project. So just continue, and here you have to paste the URL. So I have this host app. Just take this URL and paste it over here. Continue. Okay, continue. And we want to build it as npm run build, and we want to keep it in list. Deploy. Okay, I'm coding on the fly, so if anything goes wrong, we'll go to my full-fledged running application. So this is here where we get to wait. So let's just deploy it. Perfect. So here you can see, okay, we got this. Then we should visit it. And I'm hoping that it will not work. Why it will not work? Let's see the page source. As you can see, this is our normal HTML template, and it is looking for localhost 8080. This is in production, and it should not look for localhost 8080. So just to make it work, what we can do, let's start the host application. Close this one, this one. Okay, so localhost is working. Let's refresh, and now it is working. Obviously, that is not the correct way because it is taking from the localhost. So to make it work for the production, what we should do, let's stop this, and let's close this one. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to make instead of this public path, this localhost, we have to point it to a production URL. So how we can do that is, let's first convert it into, okay, host webpack. Let's convert it into a function. Okay, now this is my function, and the second argument it takes is arguments v, and argument v dot mode is equal to development, then show this. Otherwise, let's take the production one, this one. Okay, so let's see it again. Get def, oh, too much def here, git add, git commit. Okay, updated one. Git push. Okay, push that. Let's go to Vercel, and let's see our host app. You can actually see the deployments over here. Now it is building. Let's go to this one. Okay, it failed. Thrower development is not defined. Why? Okay, sorry, it should be a string. Update it again, git push. You can see this font size, right? I'm not increasing the font size.
Yeah, it is visible for me. So
okay, Deployments. This one got error. Let's see this one. Building, some warnings. Okay, something is happening. Okay, so here you can see the preview of it. So let's, you can see my local host is now not working and not running. Let's refresh it. And you can see it is there on the host. So, but our main concern over here is we are going to make it as a micro front end. So what it should do, it should actually expose, it should actually use another application and import use it in container application, and then see it if it is working in local and in production. So we'll go for that. Let's close this one. So the same way I'm going to make the consumer application also, consumer application webpack also a function. Second argument is p, and make it as function. Okay, so and just let's copy this one. Okay, but one thing is we didn't push it, so let's push this one also, deploy it. Clear status. What did I update? I have made it as function only. Commit. Let's see if this consumer also gets deployed. Okay, I didn't import it. Sorry, my bad. So let's go to a repository, consumer. Let's copy this, import a new project, continue same way. Continue. The script should be npm run build at the space, and it should go to this folder. Deploy. And I have created this with my one of the template. So both initial, this one I have created with this template. So it has more or like same code. It is building, sorry, deploying, and it got deployed. Let's visit it. And same problem. You can see the page source that is looking for localhost, which is not there obviously. So not this one. Okay, this one only. Clear. So just close the terminal. Okay, and it should point to production URL. Just for safer side, I'm going to push it. Git add, git commit, webpack updated. Don't go for the commit messages. Git push. Okay, push. Just let's see if that got deployed on consumer deployments. Okay, it is building. Let's see. Okay, it is ready, and you can see that it is up and running on production also. So this is, now you can see it is not looking for localhost. So let's go over here and make use of our module federation plugin. So we'll go to consumer, and what I want to do is, I go to host app, and I have one component that is button over here. Button have simple functionality, click, counter is there, reset is there, and then on click it will increase the counter. This is normal. So what I want to do is, in Webpack, this expose, you can expose an entire application, or you can expose a particular component also, you can expose from here. So as it is remotes, as it is exposes, so you can expose as many components you want to expose from this particular component. So let's just expose one component for now. That is our button, which is there in src button. Okay, I have exposed it. This only I have to write it, and I need to deploy it. Get status, get add, get commit. Okay, update and whatever. Push, deny. So when it will get deployed, let's do some changes in consumer application also. So as it is going to use that button component exposed from a host application, it should write it over in remotes. So in remote, let's say host. So this name, actually you can give anything which you want to use in this particular application, but this name. So this name should be exactly similar to the name you are giving over here from the host application. So host @ so what you want to do, you want to take the button component from your production, from your host application. So we'll take the URL from there. So host application, which is this one. And as it is going to be exposed via this remote entry, where is it? This remote entry file, we need to write it. So it will be this one and remote entry. Did I miss anything? Okay, this one. Okay, let's see that production of host application got deployed or not. So I think it got deployed. Okay, so it got deployed. So let's run locally our consumer app, npm start. Which is the old one. So now what we are going to do, we are just going to use that button component exposed from a host application. So I've already written it. So just I'm going to use it. So button is coming from host, this name which you have given over here. So app, let's hope that it will work. It is not working. Why it is not working? Cannot read properly. Push open divide. What? Did I miss anything? I don't think so. Let's. Okay. Back entry src button exposed. Okay, thank God. Okay, so now it is working. As you can see, consumer app does not have this button component, but it is taking from a different React application, that is our app, that is our host application. But it is not as app, as host application is exposing only the button component, you can use it over here. So this is working, click, 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 and reset. Okay, so now it should work in production, right? So what you should do is, to make it work in production, let's deploy this. Let's see this, which is working on in local on consumer app. Let's see if it works in production also. So git add, git commit, updated, whatever, git push. Oxygen wants to use, okay, I'll do it later. Can they move it somewhere other place? It is okay. Deployments, where's my consumer app? Oh no, deployments, it is building. Now you can see this. Let's wait, build completed. And as you can see the snippet over here, this it is consuming and it is working in production also. Let's see in production. Okay, so it is working. Why it is color coming in red colors? Because in consumer app I have written the CSS for it, like H1 give red color. So, and host I have not updated anything. So this is the same thing. So this is the, if you want to work in production, this is how the code, your exposed code will be used in different container application or shell application. You can see, you can tell, use it over there. But what if you are working on both host application and consumer applications? So first thing is, you have to push it to production, you have to deploy it, and then you have to see it whether it is working or not. So to overcome that, you can modify your webpack over here, and you can see if it is working in local or not. So here, let's say you are working in consumer application. So the same way you have done it, if your mode is development, then take it from the, instead of taking it from the production, take it from the local host of this one, 8080. So, but that is not the right way. So let's do it different way. What we generally do is, when we are starting a script, we are passing some arguments to it, like let's create a different argument. I have notes, I'm referring them. Okay, so you can see this below or not, this terminal. I'm guessing you can see. Okay, so local remotes, you can write it like host, comma, my app, your app, XYZ app, anything. Okay, so I'll be passing it npm start. So when you start a script, you can pass like this local variables. So on basis of this, I'm going to update this, my consumer app webpack. So let's create, what was that? Local remotes. Local remotes. If it is from process environment variable, right? Process dot env dot the name, or if you're not passing anything. So if you have passed it as comma separated, then let's split it up. Okay, why comma? Okay, and your local remotes, let's update over here. So local remotes dot includes, let's say, if just for now, if it is host, then run it from local, this one. Okay, otherwise take it from production. So this is there. So let's start the local of consumer app. Local remotes I'm giving, and value as host, and let's start it. Okay, As you can see, it is not loading the script because you just for now, just to see whether it is actually taking the host or not. Console.log local remotes. Let's start it again and close this one. Open very quickly. Okay, you can see over here somewhere that it should be host. Okay, so the value you are passing, which is host, so obviously it is looking for this if condition. So localhost 8080, which is not actually up, so you are not able to see the application. So let's start the host application also. So your host application is working locally, and let's start this one. Okay, remote entry. Keep on forgetting that one. As it is exposing via special entry file, that is remote entry, so you have to include it there. And something.
Don't you need to prepend a host at the rate?
Sorry? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Host at the rate. This is what coding on the fly, hit and run. Okay. So yes, it is coming from the host application. And now let's change something in host application or button component. Let's update it. Some text. As you can see, now this has been updated. And if you run it locally without any arguments to it, without any remote local variables or anything, you can see it will point to the production. As in production, we have this reset button without any updated text to it. So it is now pointing to production, deployed production version. And if you're passing it with a variable, as you have applied this condition, so it will look for localhost of host application. So this is how you will work if you are working on local. So you can put it this conditions over here. So this is pretty much I wanted to cover over here. I'll stop my sharing. And go to this one. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so there's one question from Fortune Tech, like, yeah. So the question is, if manifest.json helps in injecting a script tag from external sources, how do we ensure the application is secure from accesses? So like we are hosting the manifest.jsons and we are pointing it to the where the path is. And in manifest.jsons, whatever that is, whatever the configuration that is written by us. So the entire thing is controlled by us. We are not using external, like external sources, that what we have built, what we have deployed, that what we are loading. So in the like process, there is nothing that is like exposing. So manifest.json is entirely deployed by us, and whatever content that is provided by us there only, the path and everything. So did I clear your question? Okay, thanks. Any other question?
Yes. So we specified remotes. So we exposed only button there, and in the remotes we didn't specify what we are importing from that host. So if it's only the button, so that's why it defaulted to that, or we can expose multiple components from the host. Did you get my question?
Sorry, I was on mute. So you can see my screen, right?
No, Deepika,
Uh,
can't see
No.
right.
okay, you can't see. Yeah, let me share.
Yeah, now we can.
Now, okay. So as you are exposing only button, you can expose an entire application. But your question is why it is default taking the button component only. Why? Because here you have taken it as host, right? And from where you are taking this one. But when you are actually using, or you're actually let us say, just go to app.js. Here you have defined that you want a button component from a host, so that it is taking the button component.
Okay, so
Let's say if
it will import all, not import, but it will have access to all the components exposed by host.
yes, if you are if you are exposing a dialog component also from here, so what you can do, you just have to import it like host slash
Got it.
dialog, and then dialog will be there. Or you can, generally in micro frontend, what we do, we expose an entire application, and entire application is src app.js. But with the help of this one, you can expose a particular component also, or n number of components.
Okay. Another question I can see from the Pankaj. Like Pankaj is asking how many screen should we cap our micro frontend to 2, 3? The bundle size can grow substantially. Yeah, so Pankaj, like it's there's I will say there's no capping. Like whatever a screen size you want, you can. It's Microfront is entirely one application on their own, so there can be like as your concern was that bundle size will grow. Yeah, indeed, the bundle size will grow, but that we can overcome with the lazy loading or the like module federation, lazy loading or the like another thing. The bundle size can be managed like on demand. We can load the different chunks, so it can be divided in the chunks, and then later it can be loaded based upon the demand. So yeah, it shouldn't be capped. Micro frontage on their own, that is the entire application or entire feature itself. So yeah, we shouldn't cap like that. So Pankaj, did I clear your question, or do you have still doubt on this? Okay. Anyway, any other question from any one of you?
So Radhit, this was your question that does remote by default picks the only exposed component? So just now we have explained it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Okay.
So I assume this silence has means no more questions. So am I correct? I think so. Again, silence. So yeah, I like to thanks each and everyone who joined us for the day and spare your time. We are going to share the means this recording on the meetup page. Other than that, we are going to share the slides as well, and for the code base as well. So I like you guys to share your feedback on the meetup page, and we'll come up with the next topic very soon. So we'll keep you updated. So that's all from our side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys
Thank
for the
you.
session. This is really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for appreciation.
Okay, going to end the session.